Good evening to you. I'm Dakota Makris. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. Flooding in eastern Kentucky left several schools in need of massive amounts of cleaning and repair. Buckhorn and Perry County was among them. All their students are now in other schools while renovations are made. Phil Pendleton talked to students and staff at their new place of learning while their community school is returned to normal.
This car that still sits outside Buckhorn School giving you an idea of the force of what took place in late July when the floodwaters picked up debris, carried it downstream, crashed it into the school, leaving so much damage here that it's going to take at least a year to fix it and to clean it up and make it usable for students and staff once again. Seniors at Buckhorn School have had quite the roller coaster ride in education. First COVID, then a flood that swept through their school.
It's been rough, but we're all in it together, so as long as we're together, we get through it.
That pride in the kindergarten through 12th grade school is strong. 300 students are now in the A.B. Combs School that underwent a quick renovation and upgrade, and it'll be Buckhorn School until renovations are finished.
My biggest worry was being split up from everybody from the schools and telling us to go to different places, but Mr. Jett kept us all together, so it was wonderful news to hear that we're all together again.
Drying out from ServPro will take about another week, then renovations will start.
And then the biggest thing to getting us back, our complete gym floor will have to be a whole new gym floor, and bleachers have to be put back into place.
The transporting of students to A.B. Combs School is not as much of a transportation issue as you might think, even though that is 27 miles or so from here. I'm told that many of the students that attend Buckhorn School already live closer to that school anyway. In Buckhorn and Perry County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Robinson Elementary in Perry County was also heavily damaged, and students there are temporarily attending another school also.
Well, continuing to watch a few clouds work into the mountains this afternoon and evening, but it's not leading to any kind of shower activity that we need to be worried about out there. Here's a look from several of our cameras. London at London Corbin Airport, hazard out the front door, and over toward Pikeville on our Pikeville Medical Center camera. Low 70s, London and Hazard. Upper 60s in Pikeville. Dew points are in the 50s, so it's dry, but again, we're watching a few of those clouds scooting in. Temperatures around the region, while Somerset's the warmest at 75. Many of us now down into the low 70s. Dew points are into the 50s, so nothing to worry about when it comes to rainfall. You see those clouds pushing through the region now. Some of us actually starting to clear out from under these, and we should expect to see that as we head through tonight. So low 70s out there within the next hour, low 60s as we head through the evening, and some of that patchy fog to worry about overnight with lows in the upper 50s. Details, though, on when we could see a return to some warmer weather on the way in just a few. Dakota?
Evan, thank you. Well, new today, House Democrats are pushing the National Archives to look into whether former President Donald Trump still possibly has U.S. government materials in his possession. A month ago, federal agents seized thousands of documents from his Florida home. The U.S. Department of Justice is also escalating its probes into the 2020 presidential election, while former Vice President Mike Pence again weighed in on whether he'd be open to appearing before the House January 6th committee. Skylar Henry has more from Washington.
The Department of Justice appears to be sharply ramping up its investigations into the actions of former President Donald Trump and his supporters surrounding events following the 2020 presidential election. More than 30 people associated with the former president have now received federal grand jury subpoenas, some as recently as last week. The subpoenas branch into three different areas: the alleged efforts to submit fake electors to Congress, money raised and spent on alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 presidential election, including by Trump's Save America PAC, and finally into the January 6th Stop the Steal rally.
There's subpoenas for people who worked closely or directly with the former president, and they're focused on issues that I think should make the former president nervous.
As the House Select Committee investigating January 6th determines its next steps, former Vice President Mike Pence was again non-committal when asked if he would be open to giving testimony.
We'll give consideration to any request. We'll give that consideration in light of the unique responsibilities that we have to uphold the constitutional framework.
On Tuesday, the House Oversight Committee asked the National Archives to get personal confirmation from Trump that all presidential records had been surrendered and to see if there are any still unaccounted for. Meanwhile, a Trump-appointed federal judge in Florida has yet to assign an independent special master to review documents seized from the former president's Mar-a-Lago home last month. The Department of Justice has signaled its willingness to accept one of the Trump team's suggestions, federal Judge Raymond Dearie to fill the role. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
An order from the federal judge in Florida had blocked the Justice Department from using the seized documents for investigative purposes pending a special master review. The DOJ has asked the judge to partially lift that order as it relates to classified material. This week, Trump's attorneys urged the judge to keep the order to stay in place. Well, the Supreme Court justices are still waiting for answers as the investigation continues into the leaked draft opinion on Roe v. Wade. Justice Elena Kagan says she expects they will get an update by the end of the month. The leak happened nearly 2 months before the final decision was released, something Justice Kagan called, quote, shocking and an obvious blatant violation of the court's rights. But at this point, she says none of the justices, except maybe the chief, know what the investigation has turned up, if anything. If they don't end up figuring out who was behind the leak, Justice Kagan says she worries how the court will keep it from happening again. The former head of security for Twitter testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee Tuesday over claims the company misled regulators about its ability to protect user accounts. Peter Mudge Zadko became a whistleblower after warning of the flaws last month. Natalie Brand reports from Capitol Hill.
They don't know what data they have, where it lives, or where it came from.
Twitter whistleblower Peter Mudge Zadko detailed his concerns before senators of serious security and privacy vulnerabilities that he says could put the social media giant's hundreds of millions of users at risk.
It's not far-fetched to say that an employee inside the company could take over the accounts of all of the senators in this room.
Zadko worked as Twitter's head of security for 2 years before he was fired this past January. He alleges his concerns went unheard by the company's leadership, prompting him to go public.
I determined it was necessary to take on the personal and professional risk to myself and to my family.
Zadko also testified he warned the company a foreign agent was on the payroll.
Their response was, well, since we already have one, what does it matter if we have more?
Zadko's allegations have prompted outrage across both sides of the aisle, especially since the social media giant was ordered by the FTC to better safeguard personal information as part of a settlement in 2011.
I wouldn't exactly give a passing grade to Twitter when it comes to the security of information. Would you grade as well the government agencies that have some responsibility?
They're left letting companies grade their own homework. And I think that's one of the big challenges.
Republican Senator Chuck Grassley said Twitter's CEO rejected the company's invitation to appear before the committee.
If these allegations are true, I don't see how Mr. Agrawal can maintain his position at Twitter.
Twitter has disputed Zadko's allegations and says it's made security and privacy a company-wide priority. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Well, during the hearing, Elon Musk tweeted a popcorn emoji appearing to show he was tuned in. Twitter shareholders voted Tuesday in favor of his $44 billion takeover deal to buy the company, even though he is seeking to terminate the agreement. And he is fighting tooth and nail to get out of his deal to buy Twitter, but the social media company's shareholders plan to hold it to him. Twitter shareholders voted Tuesday in favor of Musk's $44 billion takeover deal. The vote came days after Musk's third letter to Twitter seeking to terminate the deal. The case between Twitter and the world's richest person is set to go on trial on October 17th. Well, coming up here on Mountain News at 5:30, life online is the norm for kids today, but are you up to speed on how to keep them safe? Experts weigh in with the best practices for virtual play.
Plus, plenty of sunshine continues as we head through the rest of this week. The very latest on if temperatures warm up as well on the way.